Football is a complex game, and it's unfair to ever pin a loss on one play or player. Unfortunately, even the most rational fans can't help but spotlight one specific moment that they feel cost their team the game. Here are the top "you cost us the game" moments in NFL history, and we'll start with a bitter NFC rivalry. Philadelphia and New York have always had a contentious history, but for the purposes of this list, one game specifically comes to mind. In December of 2010, the 9-4 Giants faced off against the 9-4 Eagles with playoff hopes on the line. New York had taken a 31-10 lead in front of their home fans in the fourth quarter on a touchdown pass from Eli Manning to Kevin Boss. Everyone thought the game was a wrap, including the PA announcer who decided to play Eye of the Tiger on the PA system, a not-so-subtle jab at the Philly faithful. However, Michael Vick would connect with Brent Selleck on a 65-yard touchdown pass to cut the lead to 14 with just over 7 minutes to play. Following a successful onside kick, Vick would cut the lead to 31-24 on a touchdown run with over 4 minutes to play. The Eagles forced a punt that saw them 87 yards away from a tie game with 3:01 left, but Vick eventually hit Jeremy Maclin to tie the game at 31 with 1:16 remaining. On the Giants' next possession, Eli Manning threw 2 incompletions and then was sacked. New York would call a timeout before the play clock expired and then sent the punt team out with just 12 seconds left. In what can only be described as a case of a player completely ignoring his coach, punter Matt Dodge elected to kick the ball to one of the most dangerous players in the league rather than kick the ball out of bounds. Dodge hit a line drive to DeSean Jackson, who initially bobbled it, but then recovered with a few Giants players losing their lane discipline along the way. Jackson sped through the middle of the field and eventually made his way barely touched into the end zone as the clock expired. Before Jackson even reached the end zone, a red-faced Tom Coughlin was on the field chewing out his punter. No flags, Philly wins. The implications of this game were huge. It would propel the Eagles into the playoffs, while the Giants were left out despite finishing 10-6. And, oh yeah, Matt Dodge was released at the end of the season. Even though the game was at MetLife Stadium, it will forever be known as the Miracle at the Meadowlands. Up next on the list came in 2018. The Bears were arguably the hottest team in football, winning 9 of their last 10 to finish the season 12-4. They headed to the playoffs confidently, despite a big wildcard matchup against the defending champ Philadelphia Eagles. It was a tough, low-scoring battle, but the Eagles took a lead late on a Nick Foles to Golden Tate touchdown pass with just 1:01 left in the game. Chicago quarterback Mitch Trubisky guided the Bears into Philly territory to set up a 43-yard field goal from Cody Parkey. Parkey had missed 11 field goals on the season, but incredibly, 6 of those misses had hit the uprights, which made what was about to happen even more improbable. Parkey would actually drill an attempt just after whistles blew and Doug Peterson called a timeout to ice the Bears kicker. And on the next attempt, he not only hit the upright, but also the crossbar on what will forever be called the Double Doink, the phrase coined by legendary broadcaster Al Michaels. The Eagles would lose in the next round, and the Bears haven't made it past the first round of the playoffs since 2010. Number 3 on the list is the 2015 wildcard matchup between Seattle and Minnesota, which was what some have dubbed the Frostbite Fight. When the game kicked off, it was -6 degrees with a wind chill of -25. Despite the weather, 52,000 fans showed up for what they had to know would be a game with little to no offense. Both teams had trouble doing much of anything, but in those temperatures, frostbite can occur within 30 minutes, so it's no surprise that either side spent much time away from the heated benches on the sideline. Much of the scoring would be thanks to the kickers on both sides, with Minnesota's Blair Walsh accounting for 9 points and Steven Hauschka giving the Seahawks a 10-9 lead late in the fourth quarter. Vikings QB Teddy Bridgewater would get the ball all the way down to Seattle's 16-yard line for what would appear to be a chip shot to send the home team on to the second round. But the hold was problematic in the freezing temps, and when the ball was placed down, the laces were facing Walsh. The kicker subsequently snap-hooked it left, leaving Minnesota fans to wonder why they subjected themselves to subhuman conditions only to be let down by a last-second mishap. Seattle would lose the following week to a much warmer Carolina team who had finished the year 15-1. Walsh was released the following year and was eventually picked up by Seattle for the 2017 season. In keeping with the theme of chilly conditions on our list, we move from a missed short kick to a wild connection on a deep throw. The 2012 AFC Divisional Playoff was a blustery 2 degrees at Mile High Stadium, so cold in fact that Broncos QB Peyton Manning decided on wearing gloves. On the other side, Baltimore QB Joe Flacco was just trying to figure out if he was elite. Unlike the frigid Minnesota playoff matchup, this one was a back-and-forth affair that saw Flacco throw for 331 yards and 3 touchdowns, while Manning cooked up 290 yards and 3 TDs of his own. The Broncos took a 35-28 lead midway through the final frame and kept the Ravens at bay for the rest of the fourth until Baltimore was given one last chance from their own 23-yard line with no timeouts. On 3rd and 3 with just 40 seconds to go, Flacco launched a deep ball deep into the wintry air that found its way into the arms of Jacoby Jones, who took it in for a touchdown to tie the game. The Broncos defenders looked, frankly, unprepared for the deep shot and thought Flacco would throw a pass closer to the first down marker. Jim Leonard didn't get deep enough in his quarter, then Raheem Moore misread the ball from his deep zone coverage, mistiming the jump before falling to the ground and surrendering the game-tying TD. A Manning interception in the second overtime would set up rookie kicker Justin Tucker, who would bury the game winner from 47 yards out. The Ravens would go on to defeat San Francisco in the Super Bowl, and this play would go on to be forever known as the Miracle at Mile High. The next "you cost us" moment on our list is one of the wildest plays in league history, and it also came with massive implications for one NFC team. In Week 16 of 2003, the Saints were sitting at 7-7 and needed to win their last 2 games to reach the playoffs. They traveled to Jacksonville to play a lowly Jags team who had only won 4 games up to that point. Jacksonville had used a field goal to take a 20-13 lead with just 9 seconds left. The only thing left for the Saints was a prayer and a bunch of laterals. On the last play of the game, Aaron Brooks hit Dante Stallworth near midfield, and what happened next was madness. After Jerome Pathan reached the end zone, the officials huddled to see if all the laterals were legal. Upon confirmation, one of the league's greatest kickers, John Carney, trotted out for what was believed to be an automatic extra point. Carney pushed it right, and New Orleans was eliminated from playoff contention. A sports writer would later calculate the odds of a game having a lateral followed by a missed extra point and found that it likely wouldn't happen for another 1,500 years of competition. Carney would kick for another 7 years, tying him with George Blanda for a career spanning 4 decades, but surely this one stung for a long time. The play with the biggest consequences on our list is one that older Bills fans have carried with them for over 30 years. In the first of their back-to-back Super Bowl appearances, they were locked in a tight battle with the Giants and Bill Parcells. On the final drive of the game, Jim Kelly drove his team down the New York 29-yard line to set up a potential game-winning field goal of 47 yards from Scott Norwood. The Norwood kick sailed right, and the Bills would lose the first of their 4 consecutive Super Bowls. Everyone remembers the missed kick by Norwood, but 47-yarders were far less common in the late 80s and 90s. On attempts from 40 to 49 yards in 1990, kickers hit on just 63% of them. That number was nearly 80% in 2023. So while it's easy to knock Norwood and his one-bar fashion, that would have been an icy kick. Finally, the ultimate "you cost us the game" moment also occurred in the 90s. This one came on Thanksgiving Day when a cowboy gave the Dolphins an early Black Friday present. In 1993, 2 of the better teams in the league met during a rare snowstorm in Dallas. The weather kept it a low-scoring affair, and the Dolphins, losing 14-13 with 15 seconds left, sent out Pete Stoyanovich to try and win the game on a 41-yard try. The conditions were not conducive to a solid operation, and the kick was blocked. The game should have been over, but Leon Lett had other ideas. When the kick ricocheted past the line of scrimmage and landed a few yards away, Lett approached the ball and attempted to recover it. Untouched by a defender, the game would be over, but because Lett touched it, the ball was now alive and the Dolphins recovered it in the end zone. Muffed kick rules placed the ball back at the 1-yard line for Miami, which made Stojanovich's kick much more manageable, and the Dolphins ended up getting the most memorable Thanksgiving win ever. Lett went to 2 Pro Bowls and won 3 Super Bowls, but this is unquestionably the moment he will forever be remembered for. Are those your greatest "you cost us the game" moments? Let us know in the comments, and please like and subscribe.